Hi, I'm Kathy Mills and I'm here with Constantine Parsoulas for an interview today. How are you?
Good, thank you, Kathy. I'm very well. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Could we start this with you telling us a little bit about you?
Of course, I'd be happy to do so. So I'm currently I reside in Sydney. My sort of like background is very interesting. So I come from a combative background in the martial arts industry. So ever since I could basically crawl, I've been doing some kind of martial arts or combative system. So my dad was a Greco-Roman wrestler in Greece. So it's kind of like been in our bloodline and in our lineage, sort of like forever. And so I've been involved in martial arts ever since I could walk, and a lot with the sort of Hellenic ideal and Spartan ideal aspect. So philosophy, calligraphy, warrior combat styles, stuff like this. A lot of classical sort of historical element as far as the Hellenic side of things go. And like I was mentioning before, it's like when you're quite young, you're like, I don't want to do all of this stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
then when you get older, you tend to appreciate it. So I'm at a stage now where I look back and I'm kind of glad he made me do what I did, not only to maintain and hold on to my cultural background, but also I think it helps develop character and sort of personality and who I am today. I probably wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for sort of that aspect. So with the combat and martial arts, I've been very fortunate enough to make it part of my profession. And I do it full time in terms of teaching and training. And I've been extra fortunate to make it flow over and carry into the film industry, which is again, I think I've been very fortunate, and I'm really happy to add that aspect into film, which I think is kind of like it doesn't really get the attention or the respect it deserves. I think it deserves a little bit more than what it actually gets, because I think people don't understand how much effort, how much choreography, and the safety factor, the injury level
Yes.
that goes into it. And like for example, just to elaborate a little bit more on that, when you look at guys like Jackie Chan, who's
Mm-hmm.
an absolute legend.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's very few people that can do what he does, and he's
Yeah.
been involved in the industry like forever.
Yes.
And I can't think of anyone that doesn't like this man. He's the
He's
best,
great. Yeah.
and the guy is like a high-ranking black belt, and because of his martial arts and so forth, and his stunts, yeah, like he just there's so much work and effort that goes into it. And I think if you actually look at the statistics, he's one of the people that's I think's broken every single bone in his body from his
Heard
movies.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's very charismatic and so forth. So going back to myself, I kind of like I not to that level, but I'm trying to follow in that kind of footsteps where
Mm-hmm.
we bring this beautiful art form into action sequences, into choreography, and also maintaining that safety, but also bringing a little bit of more sort of hardcore sort of action style into film. Yeah, so that's where it's sort of I am at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good. All right. Could you talk about how your acting career started?
Okay. It was actually very similar to what we were just discussing. So
Okay.
maybe about I'll give you two aspects, because there was an area of time where I was just doing a little bit of extras work, and primarily I really wouldn't call it acting, but I was involved in one way. I did a few commercials um, back in 2003, 2004, the Chanel number 5 commercial with Nicole Kidman. I
Yeah.
was part of that, and a few other bits and pieces. But then it, it was nothing really serious. Then in around 2010, there was a production that was happening. So mind you, in between, I was doing a lot of training for um, stunt people, and where we would do brake falling and safety procedures and making sure that things were adequately and safe, especially when you're. So, for example, when we're doing an action sequence together, the first thing that we kind of look at is the place where the shot or actual filming will take place, and we'll take into account everything that's there. So, for example, there could be tables, there could be chairs, there could be a couch. And if there was an action sequence to take place, it could be something very simple from like slapping someone to like a multiple sort of prearranged action sequence.
Mm.
And because we have these sort of props to work with or around, the first thing that we look at is safety and then also athletic ability. And then if someone, and most of the time, because someone needs to land or fall, we have to do it in a very safe and proper way where we minimize risk and injury and also, but also sell it to the audience that it's
Yeah.
real. So
Yes.
this is where it becomes very tricky. We've got to
Hmm.
sell it in a very real way, but at the same time, we know it's not real.
Yeah.
So I was working a lot on arranging sequences like this. I think I predominantly I would be called in for this because I had won quite a few titles and championships in martial arts, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, full contact martial arts, a couple of Australian titles, intercontinental championship belts, and Southern European championships and stuff. Sort of, and with the contacts, that would bring me into from that perspective as a safety. Then one day, working with a director, his mind slips me at the moment. It'll come to me. Corey Pearson. It'll come to me anyway. And we were doing they were filming a half Australian, half Indonesian production, and Paul O'Brien was the main cast on the Australian actor, and there was a whole bunch of Indonesian actors, which were pretty high profile Indonesian actors uh, in Indonesia. And a lot of the film was shot in Jakarta, and there was some of it that was shot in Sydney and some of it in Melbourne as well. And there was a sequence that where the main character, it's a bit more action movie, mind you. So he needed to get through this sort of club scene where he's going through this hall and he's just annihilating all these bad guys to get to the main boss.
Hmm.
And as we were on set and we were trying to work out this sequence, now the guys that were acting were the guys that were sort of opposite the main actor. They were fairly decent guys, and they were okay in their acting, but their athletic ability wasn't of the highest level. So I needed to work with them for quite a bit of time. And I said to Corey, I said, how long have we got? He goes, you got 3 days. I said, bro, I need like 3 weeks
Yes.
in the academy where we've got safety mats and we can go through
Hmm.
it. And he said to me, you don't have 3 weeks. He goes, show me the current routine of what you're doing. So I kind of like, I did all the action sequences myself of what they would be doing.
Yeah.
And he's like, his jaw just dropped. And he's like, you know what? Scrap the 3 guys. He goes, you're going to do it. I
Oh.
said, okay, no problem. And it was from that action sequence there. And it was a really good, really nice, very well, very professional action sequence in this feature film, which is called Message Man. Um, and it kind of like kicked off from there, and then from there, sort of because of the way that I was portrayed, the certain charismatic look that I had, I started getting a lot more gangster, mafia
Mm.
style, Robert De Niro, standover action sequence guys. So this was
Yes.
kind of like a trademark for me. And so the majority of roles that I had been getting in film were all of this nature, which was quite fine. It suited me because I could pull it off. So moving into verticals was very different.
Hmm. Yeah. And how did you find that from a feature film?
Um, it was definitely a big learning curve for me. I've done a couple of verticals up
Mm.
until this point, and they've been amazing projects with amazing people, amazing actors, amazing actresses. I've come to the conclusion that I think if you can act in a vertical, you can act anywhere.
Yeah.
I truly believe that now.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, I actually, even though I got casted for a role, I got pulled up a few times. It was like, I wasn't pulling my weight like the rest of the cast members.
Mm.
And it was very obvious that I came from normal film.
Yeah.
And, usually there's a build up. There's a lot more patience and kind of like that fire that kind of builds up and then it unleashes, where this is just like go, 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 go. And it was quite challenging in the beginning. However, due to some wonderful actresses and actors, especially on the last project that I worked with, um, they were really good, and they actually assisted me quite a bit, and we actually pulled off a really good sort of project. It From an acting perspective, was really good. It was really good. I was quite happy with it. It was very very different, but
Yeah.
it was a huge learning curve, and to be honest, I would really love to see. I know it's a bit different with vertical. You don't have the widescreen, so the action sequences don't get caught as nice. But I think it would
Mm.
be nice to have a little bit more of something like this in the
I
vertical
agree.
segment.
I like
Yeah,
action, so
yeah,
I think that
yeah,
would be good.
yeah. I think everyone does. I think we just need to do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I know a lot of people want like different storylines in verticals, but they normally leaning towards either comedy or horror. And I'm down for comedy, but comedy, action, and sci-fi is where I'm sitting at.
yeah. That's pretty cool. I'll have to agree with you. All of
Mhm.
those areas are nice. And I think those areas that you mentioned now, Kathy, are probably the least done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes it's good to. I think there's definitely something there. But as far as verticals go, again, it's something that is a little bit more fairly new to me, having been acting for the last 15 years. With the verticals, I would say I'd been involved mainly now for about 12 months.
Yeah.
So it's quite a change coming from
Mm.
normal film. And
Yeah.
but I think it's important. Like we always keep pushing, and I also look at it sort of from a personal perspective. It's a time for growth, for challenging oneself and putting ourselves in something that we haven't done before, which
Yes.
which is only going to make us better. I think people are afraid of failure. That's the problem, and
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with not hitting your mark, but
Hmm.
retrying.
They're happy to sit comfortably with what's working at
Mm,
this current moment. But I
yeah,
could go into that for a long time, so we won't. There's heaps of different factors to that one.
certainly.
Okay. Um, has martial arts training shaped the way you approach different acting roles?
Oh, absolutely,
Mm.
absolutely. Simply, one of the things that with martial arts, especially being involved for such a long time, over 3.5 decades now, um, it teaches you to have composure. So sometimes when we're feeling that pressure, that stress, or you're being bombarded from all sides, it helps centering yourself. Of course, everyone is different, but now I'm talking from my own perspective, and I've been doing this for over 3 decades. So, at a high-ranking black belt level, you you tend to be able to kind of center yourself, compose, regulate your breathing. And I think this is very important when it comes to acting because when we're in like really long filming days, high pressure situations, or you know, situations where your mind is sort of congested and confused, whether it be by our script or something that's happened on set or we're not prepared properly or whatever the case may be, I think it kind of like centers us. It's helped me be a little bit more centered
Mm.
in moments of stress or duress.
Yeah.
Definitely. And
Mm.
also, I also see, especially when we're filming long, long days, a lot of people is like, oh, I can't stand, oh, my knees, oh, this, oh, that. And it's like
Yeah.
because you're consistently training, you're flexible, you're strong, you're fit, you're able to, sorry, there's a plane going over the place. Yeah. Um, you're able to endure and have that
Mm.
sort of capacity to keep going because you're always pushing and pushing and pushing. So you're fitter, you're stronger. Um, so from that respect, absolutely. I mean, any kind of training is good. But longevity training, so the way we were training martial arts is because you're training for, round after round after round after round
Mm.
after round.
And
It's
build
more,
up that stamina.
yeah, that's right. So it's because it's a bit more endurance based. It allows you to keep pushing and keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I would say it has helped quite immensely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's
Mm.
good. Okay. You also teach. So, what's the most surprising lesson your students have taught you?
Mm, that's a great question.
Thank you.
Yeah. Um, that's a great question. So I am a big believer that the teacher learns just as much from his or her students as
Mm.
they learn from their teacher. There's been many times where um, students have more or less uh, asked a question in a way where it's made me think completely outside the box.
Mhm.
And this has happened on more than one occasion. And it's made me sort of like look at a situation a little bit from a perspective that I never would have thought of, or probably uh, would never have encountered unless they brought it to my attention. Um, So that would be sort of one area where I'm consistently learning and have been caught, like I've been caught with a smile on my face because you can tell they've just taught me something, which is
Mm.
great. But also the level of the other thing that it's taught me is most people in our society, and when I say society, this could be related also to any profession or industry, whether it's film, whether it's the martial arts, whether it's our neighborhood or our community. You're going to get, most people are generally good, but you always get some bad seeds in the garden. And another thing that it has taught me that irrespective of whether we have bad seeds in the garden or not, we must continue to do the good thing. So just because someone has misplaced our trust doesn't mean that we don't trust anyone because most people will do the right thing.
Mhm.
So that was a valuable lesson that I was taught from a particular student. Um, so there's a few sort of more kind of like philosophical, in-depth ones like that,
Mm.
but yeah, I think
Mm.
that those were definitely valuable lessons.
Do you teach like what age group do you teach? Do you teach wide range of age group or?
Yeah, so with my academy, we have about 250 to 300 students at the
Mm.
present moment, and we have different age groups that we teach. So we have our little Spartans program, which is aged between 4 to 7,
Mm.
and then we have our Tigers, which are like 8 to 11-year-olds. Then we have like our teens programs, which are roughly 12 to 16, 17. Although anyone from 15 up can train in their adults class. And we have our dog classes, yeah. So we
Mm.
run about 35 classes a week,
Mhm.
Monday to Saturday. And I have 7 staff as well because I can't teach that all by myself. But there
That would
was a
still keep you
time,
busy.
yeah, definitely. It keeps you, I think it keeps you sharp, keeps you active. When I did first start teaching over 25 years ago, I um I used to do everything myself. Obviously, I didn't teach as many classes as what I had just mentioned to you now. It was probably half of that. But as we've grown and as it's become, so we're doing a lot of work with primary school children and running a lot of anti-bullying programs for these schools.
I
Um,
need that at our school. My children's school needs that.
yeah, I think they all do. I think they all do. However, this was pre-COVID, and
Mm.
then when COVID hit, of course, everything was stopped.
Mm.
And since COVID, we sort of like haven't really gone back to the schools, but we do have a lot of the school children that come to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a few different programs. So we'll run those programs. Then we run some fitness programs like for some moms that have young children, but they can't really sort of leave them anywhere and stuff
Mhm.
like that. Then we have our proper martial arts classes where people come in, they learn a proper martial arts, they learn, the history, the philosophy, the discipline. And we have, they do like we work on self-defense and all of those attributes. And then we have our professional fighters who are more on the athlete side and the competitive sphere. Um, and then last but not least is the acting circle. So this is where we do a lot of choreography training and do martial arts for on screen rather than the traditional real aspect. So a very quick example of that is if we're training together, and let's say for example we're boxing or kickboxing, our guard would be here.
Mhm.
But the problem with film is I'm hiding my face on camera. So usually on screen, my hands would be, you can't see it now, I'll come a little bit closer, it would be much lower. So
Yeah.
the camera would catch my facial expression, my eyes, and any dialogue that's done between us. And
Yeah.
it'd be done at a specific angle. The kicks would be overextended and sort of held out a little bit longer to emphasize the reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's done in a particular way. And also another big aspect for film is also the way that we fall. So the specific term that this is used is called break falling. So you break fall in a way where you take the pressure onto your, say, forearm and you protect all the key vital areas of the wrist. So your cranium, your spine, um, your shoulder, your collarbone, all of these areas that can have sort of more severe injury are protected. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Like if we take a heavy fall, we might get a bruise on our forearm, but the bruise on the forearm is way better than hurting our spine or our head or
Definitely.
something. Yeah. So and this is done on like safety mats, and you fall in a particular way where you take the pressure. So, for example, we were talking about Jackie Chan before. Jackie Chan's stunt team are all like one of their key aspects is you need to be able to break fall at a black belt level to be on their team just as a stunt team. because of the amount of action sequences and breakfalling they do for safety. So,
Yeah.
so with the film aspect of the martial arts, we kind of structure it in a way where we do a lot of we do choreography, but that's not a specific class. Usually, I work with a lot of people from our industry that you know usually more one-on-one style or a small group like a workshop seminar style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would be interesting to just watch, to be honest.
Yeah.
And that would be completely different in vertical style too, to how you do that. Yeah.
Yes. So with vertical, when it would come to more action sequences, there would be a lot less movement of the feet. So the main movement would just be of the upper body, but the feet would primarily be stationary. It's quite interesting. I one of the first verticals I did, I one of the roles that I was playing was I was a father of a young girl who was a martial arts and boxing champion, and we were filming, and there was a scene where they were coming to. So I owned this martial arts dojo. This is in the vertical,
Hmm.
and they were coming in with her husband to be, and I was going to kind of like scrutinize him in a way, you know.
Yeah.
And so I was supposed to be shadow boxing in this ring. And they just kept pulling me up. It says, like, you're moving around too much. It's a vertical. You got to just stay on the spot. And it kind of hit me at that moment of what you're saying, Kathy. So it's like the feet are stationary, but just only the upper body and head is moving. So it really changes the action sequences there. You're very narrow. And I think in terms of scenes, it would have to be also much shorter, the
Yeah.
sequence, much shorter. So, for example, if we're doing a scene that would take 10 seconds of uh, film time, we would maybe have to condense that to five,
Yeah.
which I suppose is better.
Mm.
Mm.
So since you've been doing fighting like professionally, was it challenging like for you to be able to put that into like a vertical format? Was that challenging to like dial it back?
Um, in the beginning, it was a little. However, I think due to experience prior, I kind of like I'm at the point now where I know what works
Mm.
and what doesn't work, and if I think something may work and it doesn't, how to improvise that and naturally flow into, um, sort of like a role or movement or position where it could possibly work. So
Mm.
I'm at, I think I'm at the level and the experience now where I'm able to adapt that quite well. So yeah, I think, but in the beginning, yeah, for sure, it was challenging. It was different. It was definitely new, but it was pretty cool. It was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. What's one misconception about martial arts or action acting that you'd like to clear up?
Well, I'd like to say that, um, and I kind of previously mentioned this before. I really think it doesn't get the credit it deserves. I think once, and a lot of the actors that have been in a lot of like big action sort of sequences, the amount of rehearsal and work and repetition and over and over and over and over and over again is just huge. It's just so much work. And you got to remember something, that this is not just repetitive dialogue. This
Mm.
is me throwing 150 kicks
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
you dodging 150 times and doing physical movement. And when we start getting into sort of like the effects, where if you slash me and then I'm supposed to be bruised here because you've just thrown a punch,
Mm,
and we've got to stop for makeup, and then
mm,
it's just continuous. It just
yeah.
takes so much time and so much effort, and it's not easy at all to do.
Mm,
And this is what I mean by I don't think it gets the credit it deserves. I
mhm,
think it's a lot harder than what people realize. And from an
mm,
actor's perspective, you need to train. That's the bottom line. It's like you want to be a good actor, you want to be a good in a particular sort of comedic or drama sort of area. You got to do certain exercises. You got to perform certain techniques, roles, and sort of areas to help you improve that area of your acting, right? This is absolutely no different. The issue is that a lot of people think they're going to come in, they're going to do one or two training sessions. Oh yeah, I'm going to go kick some ass. It doesn't
mhm.
work like
Don't
that.
work like that, no.
No, you got to put in, you got to train, you got to put in
Mm,
the effort, and like okay, for me, I'm quite fortunate because I've been doing it for over 35 years. So it's natural to me, but I still train daily till this day. I'm not going to tell you my age, but you can estimate.
mm,
Every day without fail, I'll do something, even if it's going for a walk, doing a little bit of light stretching and stuff. So you need to move, you need to be strong because you will not be able to perform at your maximum best to perform these sequences, um, especially when they're prolonged scenes. Or, I know a lot of actors, they're like what you mentioned before. I'd like to see a lot more action. I want to be involved in this martial arts. I want to, do some sequences, be sort of that style of vertical a little bit more. But you need to train for it too. You can't just turn up with, brilliant dialogue and expect to do an action sequence. It's the
That
opposite
kind of
now.
leads to somebody definitely getting hurt, I would say.
That's right. That's right. And also poor technique.
Mm, yeah, yeah, definitely.